Good morning and welcome to Member Focus Monday. I'm Christina Schaefer, Director of Social Media for HAR, and I'm going to go ahead and pass off the hosting responsibilities for today's show to my colleague, Claudia Hernandez.
Hey, Christina, I'm so excited to interview you today. This is my first time interviewing, so hopefully the show goes well. But for those of you who don't know me, I'm Claudia Hernandez, Director of Video Services for HAR, and I have the honor of interviewing Christina Schaefer today. So, Christina, we see you every Monday. Everybody knows that you're the director of social media HAR, but we don't know everything about you. So, give us a little bit of your backstory and how it came to be that you got to this position.
Absolutely. So I've been working with HAR about 12 and a half years. I started in our professional development department and began teaching classes, a variety of classes. I would teach matrix and tools, and of course, marketing, branding, social media. And not so secretly, everybody knew that I loved teaching our marketing and social media classes the most. Of course, I love matrix and our tools, but I loved teaching those social media classes the most. So when it came time for HAR to have someone in charge of social media full time, I've been told I was the most obvious choice. So I've been overseeing our social media efforts for a little over 5 years now. And I also still get to teach. I do teach some CE classes for HAR, which I'm sure we'll talk about later. And I get to go around Texas, really, and do different speaking engagements for realtors as well.
Yeah, that's so awesome. And I know a lot of our members have taken your classes or heard you speak. If you haven't, we'll talk about that later in the interview, and we'll give you some more information on how you can sign up. So let's just get started. And let's start with one of the most common questions that we hear from realtors. I get this question in my video classes. I know you get it all the time. And that's, what is the most important platform for realtors to utilize? Is Facebook still relevant? Is it only for our parents, our grandparents? Are people still using it to market? If not, and if so, which one is probably best?
Yeah. So for realtors specifically, really all of the platforms are important for really everybody. All the platforms are important for different reasons. There might be a variety of reasons that you choose to focus your efforts on one platform or the other. For the individual realtor that is tuning into this program, that is managing all their marketing themselves, I would recommend trying to focus on 2 to 3 platforms at the most. You don't want to dilute your efforts across, 7 different platforms, but try to focus on maybe the 2 or 3 most important for you. And then you can add more, of course, if you find, that you have the bandwidth for it. To answer your question, Facebook is definitely still relevant. NAR has put out their reports over the last several years. Millennials have been the largest home buying demographic. I know millennials, you and I are both millennials. We get a hard time that millennials don't buy houses, right? But they're the largest home buying demographic for the last several years. Millennials were the first people on Facebook. We were all in college when Facebook was created. So for a lot of us, so they're definitely still on Facebook. And then you also have to think about your clientele. Are you only working with Gen Z? Are you working with millennials? Are you working with Gen X? Are you working with baby boomers, silent generation? Who are you working with, and where is that audience at? And a lot of people, again, for most realtors, Facebook is still going to be extremely relevant. There's a reason that we're live streaming right now on Facebook, and that's because a lot of our audience is on Facebook and utilizing Facebook on a day-to-day basis. So something else that you can do, and we can talk about this more later too, but one of the best things you can do is just take some time to determine what are the 2 to 3 best platforms for you, and that might look different from the person next to you, right? Because your audience may be on a different platform than somebody else's audience. Again, Facebook is going to be one of the most important. Instagram is also really important for a lot of people. LinkedIn is one that a lot of people forget about. But if you think about all the connections and the potential connections on LinkedIn, I hear from realtors all the time, oh, I got this referral from LinkedIn, or, things like that. So that's a really important one as well. So what I would recommend to everybody is take a look at the platforms you're currently on and kind of gauge your audience, not necessarily where you have the most followers or friends, but where you get the most engagement.
Yeah, that's great. And, like we've told people before, is don't go out and just fill out a bunch of all of the social medias and do them all. Just see where you're getting the most comments, engagements, all that stuff from your followers. So that's awesome advice. Now, I know as part of that, people are afraid or they're excited to try new platforms. One of them being TikTok. So what would be the benefits or the drawbacks of using TikTok for realtors?
Yeah, so there's a lot of benefits and as you said, some drawbacks too, but TikTok does let you expand to a wider audience maybe than what you would have normally have connected with on Facebook or Instagram. A lot of, people, you can expand to a wide audience on Instagram, but a lot of people, they're connected with their referral network. Maybe they're not getting visibility outside of that referral network. On TikTok, you do have the opportunity to, go viral potentially, as people love to talk about. I don't like to focus on trying to go viral. I like to focus on creating good content that your engaged audience is going to pay attention to. Something else on TikTok, we hear about authenticity, and we've heard this for a few years now. It's so important to be authentic. And you and I preach that to realtors a lot. You can do that on TikTok. You can be human. You can be funny. You can entertain people. We've all seen the TikTok dances. Believe it or not, I saw a speaker last week do a TikTok dance in real life. Yes, it was a little cringe, but yeah. So you can do those fun things, but also educate, right? That's a big important job for realtors, to educate consumers, and you can do that in a fun way that's authentic on TikTok. Some drawbacks, the security concerns, they haven't stopped. That maybe it's not making headlines right now as it was in December. But the security concerns haven't stopped, and also the possibility of it potentially being banned in the United States, that hasn't stopped either. It's just kind of gotten a little quiet. It seems like that headline comes back up every couple of months. So those are some things to think about if you're going to be focusing your efforts on a platform that could be a security concern potentially, or could eventually be banned. And then what do you do with that audience that you built up on TikTok? That's why for anybody that is on TikTok, you'll see a lot of those TikTokers, they're pushing you to their YouTube channel. They're pushing you to their Instagram because they know that they might need to have a backup. So I would also evaluate the audience, if your audience is even on TikTok. For example, I'm in a group chat with some friends, all millennials. I'm the only one who's on TikTok. And I will send them funny TikToks, and they're like, oh, stop sending me these, because then I have to go pull up TikTok. So, you have to kind of think about, is your audience really on that platform, and is it going to benefit you? And so my recommendation, if you are on TikTok or you want to be on TikTok, is to do what those other TikTokers are doing, and push them to your Instagram, push them to your YouTube or wherever it is, but also duplicate your efforts. If you're making a TikTok, recycle it and use it as a reel. Use it as a YouTube short, so that you're not just keeping all those efforts on one platform.
Right. Yeah, no, that's great. And you want to try all of them. You see somebody getting success on one platform and you're like, well, maybe I should try that platform as well. So, but you don't want to go crazy and then not really, it doesn't become as effective. But in that sense, how can you tell if what you're doing is effective? Do I keep making videos? Do I keep posting here? Do I keep posting TikToks? Like, what's the metric? How do I tell that it's actually working?
I'm so glad you used the word metric, because it's exactly what you need to be looking at. To tell if what you're doing is working, you have to check your metrics. I know a lot of realtors, you're pressed for time. You post it, you forget about it, and that's not what we need to be doing. We do need to take some time to check your metrics. Like I said a little while ago, the metrics, it's not necessarily about the followers you have. You could have 50,000 followers on Instagram, but the engagement is not there. So the metrics, what you need to be looking at, the follower count, that's more of a vanity metric. I would be looking at your follower growth count. How many new followers have I gotten in the last 30 days, in the last 6 months, in the last year? That's going to make a big difference, because I could have a brand new TikTok that I just opened last month and I already have 300 followers, for example. And that's really good. But some people might say, 300 followers, that's not enough, right? So your follower count is a really good way to determine if what you're doing is working. Other ways to look at engagement, obviously comments, likes, shares, things like that. You can also look at your reach, your video views, how many people tuned in for the video, but also even the video completion rates. how many tuned in for the video and watched the whole thing. On some platforms, you do have reviews or recommendations, like Facebook business pages have a spot where people can recommend you or rate your business. So that's another thing. Look at your DMs. You might have a loyal follower who never comments and likes your photos or your posts, but maybe they send you a DM and they thank you for the content or they ask you a question. That's engagement, even though they're not clicking that like button. Of course, actual conversions. Hey, I've seen your posts on social media, and I'm actually looking to buy a house soon. I was wondering if maybe we could talk a little bit more because I'd like to work with you. That's a literal conversion that you've gotten. So I would create a cadence of reporting for yourself. Once a month, myself and Andrea, who does social media with us for HAR, we look at our metrics. We look at exactly what I just said. How much engagement are we getting? How much reach are we getting? And then maybe what specific posts did really well for us and what maybe didn't do so well, because that's going to help me determine what I should be doing more of and what I should be doing less of. So again, it's going to be a little different for everybody, but looking at those metrics on a regular basis is extremely important.
Yeah, that's great. And of course, if something isn't working, you don't want to keep doing it. Don't waste your time doing something that's not working out. So
Right.
obviously that's helpful to check that out. And of course, many realtors, they see the benefit in social media, they see the benefit in the marketing, but they feel like it takes too much time. So how can realtors manage their time on social media?
Yeah, so again, another big one. If you are pulling up your social media platform, whatever platform you're using or you're focusing on, if you're pulling it up, Monday morning, you're thinking to yourself, oh, I have to post something today. It's going to feel labor intensive. It's going to feel time consuming. It's going to feel like a heavy lift, right? So you have to plan ahead. Just like everything else, you have to have a social media marketing plan. I recommend to people to create content calendars. You can use, there's a ton of tools online that you can use. There's templates online that you can use to create a content calendar. It could even just be as simple as putting it in your, Outlook or your Gmail or Google Calendar and knowing what I'm going to post on what day.
Right.
Even better, having that content already created and ready to go out for that day. Something else that you should be doing, there's two types of content, OC and OPC. So OC is original content. I created this video. I made this graphic. I wrote this long post. Or OPC, which is other people's content. HAR puts out reports and valuable content for consumers multiple times a month. And we encourage you to share it, but also look at things within your target and geo market. If I'm a realtor in Pearland and I see that, Pearland Parks and Rec posted this great thing that's taking place this weekend, that's OPC, other people's content that I could be utilizing to my advantage. Something else that saves a lot of time, I know that's something that we use internally, and that is schedulers. This is nothing new. They've been around for years. There's so many different ones, Buffer, Hootsuite, Sprout Social, and these allow you to schedule months in advance. In some cases, they are all a little different. Some are free, some there's a pay plan, depends on what you want to use it for. But even if you're using just Facebook, the Meta Business Suite allows you to schedule posts up to 30 days in advance on both Facebook and Instagram. You can manage both from your Meta Business Suite. So many different ways you can do it, but you have to plan ahead, and that's going to save you time.
Yeah, it's the time constraints. That's the one thing we hear, right? I don't have time. But if you plan it, then you can make the time for it. So that's great. Great advice. And what kind of content should realtors be sharing on social media? I know I hear a lot, too personal, too business. Do I stop showing my listings? Do I show too many of them? What is the good balance there?
Yeah, I think for realtors, they get hung up on, again, I have to post something. What am I going to post? I post the hard sell, right? Here, the best compliment you can give me is your referral. We see that sometimes. We see do you know anyone that's looking for a realtor? We see those posts. That's the hard sell. And we know that consumers, as much as realtors, we want to post that, right? But consumers aren't really looking for that. People go on social media for three reasons. They want to be educated, entertained, and inspired. And so if you're looking to engage your audience, you need to be doing one of those, if not all three of those things: educate, entertain, inspire. And the hard sell is, again, that refer me, or also here's my listing, here's my open house, right? What else could we be doing? Well, one thing that I see in my news feed all the time, and I love seeing it, so don't get me wrong. One thing that I see all the time is that title company photo, right? We just closed and we've got the sign and we post that title company photo. And if you're working with a millennial, a Gen Z client, they're going to be waiting for that photo. Like, when are you taking my picture? I put on makeup today. I'm ready for this. Like, they're excited about it, right? That's great. But what that is just the end of a long story of however many days that you, or years or months that you've been working with this client. What you should also be posting, not just the title company photo, but the behind the scenes. Tell me the details, the story of what it took to get to that title company photo. And this is where you can really be authentic. You can talk about the fires you fought. You can talk about the wins you had. And when doing so, you're not revealing too much information necessarily. People worry about that. Well, if I post something, the other realtor might see it or something like that. And that's okay. I mean, we want to talk, you want to post your wins, of course, and the win is that title company photo, but you also want to post your failures. Some of the content that has stuck out in my mind the most over the last several years are actually some of the failures. And what that tells me is that realtor, this matters to them. That client that, getting in that house or whatever it is, that matters to them. And if they do talk about those failures, they do talk about this deal that fell through or whatever the case is, and they're showing me authenticity, they're showing me how much it, mattered to them and what they're going to do now, and they're going to help their client or whatever the case is, that's inspiring, right? So remember, educate, entertain, inspire. Be authentic, be yourself, talk about wins and failures, and then of course, show us that title company photo.
Don't forget the title company photo. And it's those behind the scenes that you mentioned that get people's attention, like you said. I mean, there's just so many things that I remember our realtor doing during that time that I didn't see her post on social media. And I was like, you got to tell people you're doing these things because it's so important, and it just tugs at your heartstrings, makes me think of her each time. And I'm like, of course I'm going to recommend you because of all that stuff, but you got to let everybody know that you're doing it.
Absolutely. Same here. I mean, we had so many ups and downs in trying to get into our houses. I know most transactions that happens, right? And our realtors, same thing. They were trying to be very discreet. They didn't want to say anything. And I said, you need to post this on social media. So, because again, it matters. It mattered to me when I would get that phone call and they sounded really sad, or when they got the text message and they were so excited about something that happened, right? So post that on social media, talk about it.
Yeah, great advice. All right. And so now moving into something that people are a little afraid to talk about, a little afraid to get started on, and you're creating all this content. Maybe you don't have time for it, but you want to save time. And there are some AI tools that you could use to benefit with your social media marketing. So how can realtors use these AI tools or AI in general to benefit their business and social media?
Yeah. So again, realtors, we maybe worry about what should I be talking about, or you get, again, okay, Christina told me I need to create a plan. So I'm going to sit down, I'm going to create a plan, and maybe you're stumped for ideas. This is a great option to utilize AI. It can be very easily implemented to utilize to write captions, descriptions, video scripts. I know you teach classes where you talk about specific AI tools, even for video creation. I use it a lot to inspire creativity. Maybe I'm getting ready to present to a group and I want to come up with something new and fresh to talk about. I might use it for that. Or even I used it for this past year's Engage conference. I used AI to write the title of my session and a description of my session. Of course, I modified a little bit, and we'll talk about that. But it's something that can be used to inspire creativity. I had a couple examples that I wanted to show, because one thing that I've said to realtors over the years is some content, or you're coming up with content ideas, is think about your frequently asked questions, right? What are the questions that every client asks you all the time? I've always, for years, I've told realtors, write this down in your notes app on your phone and create content for it. Well, you don't even have to do that anymore. I went on on ChatGPT and I said, in my case, I said, what are the top questions that realtors would ask about social media marketing in 2024. And it created a list of 10 questions. And I read through these. These are great questions. Some of these questions you're asking me today.
Right. Yeah.
And it was a great list of 10 questions. This right here is 10 different posts on social media. This is 10 different videos, 10 different graphics I could create that I could plan out in advance. And it's going to benefit my client when they see that I'm answering their frequently asked questions on social media. So that's one way you could do it. I just talked about creating a content calendar. So I went on ChatGPT again. Actually, before then, I asked ChatGPT, if I was a realtor, what are some things that I could do to promote my services? Yeah. And it came up with, again, a list of things that you could do. So it has, bullets and all kinds of stuff, some great opportunities on there to market your services. And that wasn't exclusive to social media. This is, you even see host open houses is on there, right? Utilize email marketing. So a lot of different options there. So again, I just talked about creating a content calendar.
Yeah.
And of course, I went to ChatGPT and I put in this prompt: create a social media content calendar with a minimum of 10 posts per month for 2024 for a realtor in Houston, Texas, who specializes in working with first-time homebuyers and speaks English and Spanish. And it, of course, created January, 10 different things. February, 10 different things. And it even translated it for me. It gave me posts in English and Spanish with the translations. Now, this is, again, creating, I don't even have to brainstorm myself. It's helping me brainstorm. I could look at that list and say, maybe this doesn't sound good, or maybe I want to change this or that. But I've got an amazing template that I can now work off of, and it's going to save me so much time. We could do a whole hour just talking about AI prompting, but you'll notice in that example that I just showed, I was very specific. I'm a realtor in Houston, Texas, who specializes in working with first-time homebuyers, and I speak English and Spanish. To get the best results on something like ChatGPT, you need to be as specific as possible. I heard somebody say once, talk to ChatGPT as if you're speaking to an intern, right? You need to give them detailed examples. If you just say, create a content calendar, they're going to create a content calendar, but it's not going to be specific for realtors. It's not going to be specific to you and your business and what you're trying to promote. So those are just a couple examples, but again, writing descriptions. You can even create in a lot of, again, so many AI tools out there now. Creating images is a possibility. Creating photos is a possibility. For realtors, I would just be cautious with some of that because, again, realtors, it's really important to post actually what you're selling. We don't want an AI generated house.
AI-generated living room and pool and a beautiful backyard. Yeah.
Right, exactly. But, maybe you're using a specific AI tool to virtually stage the property or something like that. So there's ways that you can use it. And of course, you teach a lot of classes on tools that can help with video creation. We talked about Reels or TikToks and shorts and stuff earlier. There's some great stuff that you actually were on this program just a couple weeks ago talking about. So a lot of ways that you can use it, but if nothing else, I know so many realtors do not have a content calendar or a plan necessarily for their social media, what they want to post and when. Have AI create one for you.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean that's the hardest part, right? I'm not creative enough. I can't think of topics, that it gives it to you right there. And like you said, it may not all be great, but you can cherry pick, you can make it your own, or it'll spark another thought in your mind for creativity on another topic. So all great advice. Everybody, if you have questions for Christina, anything about your social media marketing or what you should be posting, what you should be creating, please put them in the comments. So let's move on to what HAR can do to help you. So are there any HAR tools that realtors can use and utilize for their social media marketing?
Yes, specific to social media marketing, there are a few that we've had for quite some time, but I do find them a little bit underutilized, so I'm glad that we get to talk about them a little bit today. One of them is called automatic social media posting. This allows you to connect your Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn account. I'm sorry, I can't say X. I just can't. Twitter and LinkedIn account to HAR. And anytime you have a new or updated listing or you schedule an open house in the MLS, it will automatically share for you. It's literally what it's called, automatic social media posting. This is especially helpful on Twitter, X, because, that's one I think a lot of, if you are using that platform, that's one that people forget to use. So if you do have a presence there, you want to make sure it's a current and active presence. So that's a good way to do it. Another thing you can do, and I do see some realtors have this, but I know there's so many that don't. And this is available to everyone. This is not just a platinum thing, but you can connect in your members only portal. You can go into your My Profile section and you can connect all of your social media platforms to your HAR profile and your HAR website if you're using the HAR website. This is really beneficial because the HAR websites have amazing SEO. People are clicking on those profiles on desktop and app versions of HAR all the time. But if let's say I'm looking at your agent profile, Claudia, I can go, I see you have your social media connected. Now I can go click and see your Instagram. I can go click and see you on Facebook and connect with you there. Maybe I follow you, whatever the case is. So that utilizing it in the profile, that's a really helpful one. We have some brand new tools, a lot of stuff around AI right now, of course, but specific to the social media side of it, I do want to point out the AI property descriptions that are now available. You can use them for the MLS, but you can also use them for social media. You can have it generate social media captions based on whichever platform you plan to post it on, and it will do the appropriate hashtags and things like that. And of course, on any AI, anything you're having AI write for you, again, the disclaimer, make sure you're reading through it, make sure it sounds like you, it sounds kind of like your voice, and edit if editing is necessary. So those three: automatic social media posting, connecting your social to your profile/website, and using the AI property descriptions. Those are three that really stand out in my mind.
That's awesome. And you guys can have a guarantee that HAR is just going to keep putting out tools that will help you with all of this. So it's nonstop. They just pop out all the time. Yeah. So definitely pay attention to this program, any emails that we send out to get notifications of when those tools are out and running.
So one more, Claudia, that I completely forgot about is the HAR Marketing Center. Right. This is also in the members only portal, and with just like 3 or 4 clicks, you can have amazing social media graphics to promote yourselves, your listings, and your open houses. So use those as well.
Awesome. Yeah, great information. And so we have a question right now from Tammy Sinclair, and she asks, for video recording, do you recommend a gimbal? Are there any better options to consider? Which is great that she's thinking about creating videos and just making them look a little smoother.
Yeah, that's a great question, Tammy. This really depends on the type of video that you're creating. If you're going to be walking around a property, then absolutely something like a gimbal, a stabilizer, those are going to be beneficial because it's going to ensure a smoother quality video. Claudia, you and I were at a conference recently and we saw somebody walking around with their phone and they were walking and bouncing, right? And we were like, oh no, that video is going to come out really bouncy, right? Because as we walk, it's just natural that that's going to happen. So those stabilizers do help. But you know, that's really more if you're walking and talking, or if somebody's following you as you walk and talk, those are great. If you're going to be doing a sit down like we're doing now, you know, a webcam is beneficial. If you're doing a vertical video on your mobile device, but it's still sit down, just a tripod for your phone could be helpful. The stabilizers do require that you hold it. So again, if you're just sitting anyway, I don't know if you'd want to necessarily hold it. But yeah, a lot of different options, but definitely those gimbals or stabilizers are really good.
Yeah, that's a great information there. And so you were just talking about AI. So I know a lot of people get scared of the use of AI and compliance and copyrights and things like that. So when it comes to posting and creating content for social media, how can realtors ensure compliance with regulations and guidelines when they're advertising their properties on these platforms?
Yes. So AI is getting smarter every single day. And we if you listen to any AI speaker, they'll say that right now, if you pull up any sort of AI, this is the dumbest AI you'll see because it's just continually getting smarter and smarter. But one thing that has been a miss that people have noticed from the get-go with AI was an inherent bias that AI tends to have. AI doesn't seem to fully understand fair housing at this point. So it might write a prompt that says this neighborhood is great for families or something. And as we know, that's not something that we can post. That's a fair housing violation. So again, reading through anything that is AI generated for you is going to be essential. But as far as other regulations and guidelines, you guys, anybody that's tuned in here, jot down to yourself to Google Trek advertising rules. This hasn't changed in a couple years. I think the last change was in 2018 for Trek's advertising rules. But I see this every day on social media that realtors are violating the Trek advertising rules, because one of the things that it mentions when it comes to social media is that you have to have your brokerage affiliation on your any social media platform or any website, it calls them, that you're using to drive business. If you're using Facebook to drive business, you have to have your brokerage affiliation on there. If you're using LinkedIn to drive business, Instagram, TikTok, you have to have your brokerage affiliation on there if you're using it to drive business to be compliant with Trek. So go read through that and double check all of your platforms, because I see this all the time that realtors either don't have their brokerage affiliation at all, or they have a brokerage from maybe 2 or 3 brokerages ago, right. and they forgot to update it. It's it's not intentional. It happens, but it's something that's really, really important to ensure that you're not getting yourself in any sort of trouble.
Yes. Yeah, that's so important. And you're posting on several platforms, you might miss something or might miss updating something. So be sure to kind of do a little audit of all those platforms to see what's missing. So a great comment from Sheila. I shared an AI list to grow your real estate business with my team and advise them to pick 3 and focus on those 3 items to grow your business. That's awesome. That way everybody can learn together and get feedback from each other. So I thought that was great. Yeah. Now, Jim has a question, and so does Andrea, and maybe we'll be able to answer that in our next question, which is, where can realtors learn more about incorporating social media into their business? I know Jim had a question about classes, and Andrea had a question about, is there a place where we can find all this info on one spot?
Okay, yeah, absolutely. So Andrea, the HAR tools specifically, you can find those in the members only portal. I saw HAR posted some links to the specific tools I was talking about, so that would be a great opportunity there. But another place is in HAR classes. We offer classes regularly. Every month, every week, we have classes going on, different webinars and different things. I myself do teach a CE class called Social Media Platforms. And it's all about branding yourself across social media platforms. It's a 3-hour class. You get 3 hours of CE for it. And we actually have one this Wednesday. So we can post the link to that, of course, in the comments as well. But so I do teach that, but we also offer, there's a 6-hour digital marketing class we offer. And I know, Claudia, you offer several video classes now as well. Do you want to share those?
Yeah, we have a Braving the Video Marketing World the first week of March. And then that's really just getting yourself used to the camera and using the tools. And then the other one is the using AI tools to, boost up and really enhance your video production. So that one is at the end of March as well. And so check out both of those on the EDU site so that you can learn more about those classes.
Yes. And part of my role, I mentioned this at the beginning, is also I go around Texas, really. I do it for other associations sometimes as well when they call on me. But locally, I do a lot of presentations for area networking groups or some of our affiliate groups. So if you're involved in one of those area networking or affiliate groups and you'd like to have me come speak, I can do that as well. If you're not looking for that CE, but you guys are looking for more of a presentation, I do that as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you and I just got back from a Social Media Marketing World conference where we learned so much, and they talked about AI and videos and posting, and I learned a lot about LinkedIn as well. So is there anything else you'd like to share with our members today, whether it's some tidbits you learned from that conference or just things that you want to remind them about in their social media marketing?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, again, we've heard this for years, is being authentic, but it was really reiterated at this conference in a world of AI, how important it is to be authentic. And you guys are in a person-to-person business. We posted in our Platinum Facebook group the other day, how have you implemented AI into your business? And a few people said, this is a person-to-person business. I'm not using AI. Other people said, I'm using it this way and that way. But for some people, they're thinking, this is a person-to-person business. And you're right. AI can definitely help you. It can make you faster, more efficient. But being authentic on your social media is going to be so beneficial for you. I've been doing these live streams for about 5.5 years now. And I'll run into realtors and they'll say, You're exactly like you are on video. And it's because I'm being myself. I can't be anything else for 5.5 years straight, right? So, if you're being authentic, people can know you, like you, trust you, right? Which we know they need to do business with you. So be authentic. Don't get stunted. Creating that content calendar or having a plan is going to help you drive action versus just saying, there's so much I need to do, I'm just going to wash my hands of it and go about doing what I've been doing. Don't get stunted. Create a plan, and find tools that can help you, whether that be using AI to help you create something, whether that tool is getting a scheduler like, Hootsuite or Sprout Social or something, whether that tool is booking time with Claudia in the studio and having her create some videos for you because that's just not in your wheelhouse. Find whatever tools are going to help you and utilize them. And just remember to be really engaging in all of your posts that you're creating on social media.
Yeah, absolutely. And when we say using AI, it doesn't mean replacing yourself with AI. It means
Right.
using it as, to help you out, to get those topics, to get that information, to get more creative and more ideas. Don't be afraid. It's not going to replace you. Just use it in your toolbox of marketing. So all that is really great. We got some great comments. Richard Ortiz, virtual open house is another great way to get social media exposure for your agents and properties. Several people just telling you thank you on how great this topic was. I know everybody is always nervous about getting themselves on camera, putting their face on social media, but it's a person-to-person business that they're in. So they've got to get their face out there.
Absolutely.
All right. So thank you so much, Christina. This was so much fun interviewing you today and learning more about social media marketing. I learned something today, so I hope everybody else did too. But I'll pass it to you to let our members know who is going to be on next week.
Yes, I will tell you guys who's going to be on next week, but I did see one more question that I wanted to address really quick from Felita. She said, how much does it cost to book a session with Claudia? So tell us that real quick, Claudia.
So you can either take a class, which the prices are on the website. And those are really valuable if you're wanting to do your own video marketing. But the studios that we now have at each of our branch locations, the videos are $99 plus tax, but we do offer discounts when you do multiple videos at once. So hopefully that helped out. If you have questions, just email claudia@hr.com.
Very good. So to answer your question, Claudia, next week we will be joined by HAR Chief Technology Officer Taki Risby. He's been busy. It's been a while since he's been on our program. So he's going to be talking to us about the latest technology offerings for members. I know people love hearing from Taki, and so be sure to set your calendars and tune in next Monday at 9 a.m. That's it for this Member Focus Monday. Claudia, thank you so much for taking the time to interview me today. I had a lot of fun with you, and I'm sure we'll probably do this again down the road. So thank you for your time today.
Yeah, thank you, Christina.
Absolutely. Have a great week, everyone. Bye-bye.